Let's go to our main man, our NFL breaking it down, coast to coast, Brian Billick. I saw you were at the Ravens game yesterday. I saw some picture on social media. You went back for that Cleveland game?
I did. I was doing the radio for Ravens radio. Rod Woodson who normally does it, had a engagement. So I filled in for him, and it was great fun. Good game.
Give me your impressions, Brian, on what's going on in Cleveland because, they've lost 4 of their 5 games by a total of 11 combined points. 4 losses, 3 points or fewer. For the first time, people are screaming that Stefanski should be replaced. Allegedly, there's a bunch of screaming and yelling going on in the locker room after the game. What are your impressions of the Browns?
Boy, that one would shock me because I think Kevin Stefanski's doing a hell of a job. That's a good football team. They ran the ball extremely well, and they stayed with the run. Jacoby Brissett played well, as he typically does in terms of didn't make the big mistake, made the kind of throws you needed to make. When they got into some good checks, when he saw a single high one, took some vertical shots to Amari Cooper. They got late into the game where there's those 2 really good tight ends, and Juku, I can't remember the other kid's name, but they went down because they went into the game with a bunch of 2 tight ends, and they got into trips and spread, and they pounded away against that Raven defense and looked pretty good. But then the 2 tight ends went down, so they were in the crunch time. They were relegated to 11 personnel, 3 wide. Still ran the ball pretty good. Actually got into position. And a field goal, and then jumped off sides and backed it up, and therefore it got blocked. But they were right there in Baltimore to the end, and I think it's just a matter of it's a team that's a good team. They're adjusting to the fact that Deshaun Watson isn't there. That was the plan. Jacoby Brissett's playing pretty good. They're running the ball pretty well. Secondary's okay. The 2 ends, obviously, Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett are the real deal. So this is a good football team, but like a lot of teams in the NFL, the margins are tight, and it doesn't take but a play or 2. And now, obviously, that's the mindset for them. It's, oh, my God, if it gets to crunch time. And the Ravens were the same way. We got in the fourth quarter, and believe me, the fans and everybody were going, oh, God, here we go again, because the Ravens have given up some leads in the second half. So the Ravens pulled it out, but the Browns played, I thought, very well.
I want to ask you because, look, call me crazy, and that's fine. You have many times in all our years together broadcasting games. I have to tell you, Brian, when I look at guys that I think can win you a Super Bowl if they're surrounded by the right cast of characters, and that's key for everybody, whether it's for a quarterback, your offensive line, your weapons, being healthy, running the ball, mixing it up, pass run, all that kind of stuff. I got to tell you, Brian, the more and more I watch it, I don't think Lamar Jackson is in the same category as Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen. I think you get to bad weather, which typically it's going to be in those AFC cities, certainly those 4 I just mentioned, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Buffalo. When you get late in the year and into January in the playoffs, I just don't think Lamar Jackson beats you the way those other 3 can beat you.
Well, that aside, you're not wrong. You are crazy, but you're not wrong in this instance. Actually, the reason you said that Lamar Jackson's ability to run late in the season when the passing game might be a little affected actually could be an asset.
Yep.
But I will agree with you in that of the names you just mentioned, I don't know too many people that would take Lamar Jackson. And that's saying a lot because this is a dynamic player. But the other night, they ran the ball well because they wanted to. They ran the ball 44 times, but only for 160 yards. But they stuck with it. The Browns actually had time possession. The Browns ran for 113 yards. And Jacoby Brissett was he was 22 of 27. I don't think he had an incompletion in the first half. But Lamar Jackson was 9 of 16. Okay, pedestrian, but that's all they really needed. That's what he did. He ran, as typical, he ran around for about 60 yards and some big plays, which made a difference. But I agree with you in that I don't know. I certainly, as much as I like Lamar Jackson, and he's a dynamic player. I mean, he was an MVP. Josh Allen, Burrow, Mahomes, absolutely. There's no way. I don't know too many football people that wouldn't take one of those three over Lamar Jackson.
All right. On the other side of the coin, you were one of the first ones to make this point. And I've not heard many guys nationally make this point, but you were right there spot on when the early struggles of the Green Bay Packers began, and they've been going on quite a while now. You thought, and I don't want to put words in your mouth to misspeak, but you thought that maybe Aaron was a little detached in kind of saying, hey, we're going to be okay. He did it again yesterday. And Brian, I don't know if it's because Devontae Adams is gone. I don't know all the particulars about the Packers. But something is not right with Aaron Rodgers right now. You have any feel for that and what it might be?
I think there's such a fine line between, particularly for the great players, and I'm gonna go real cerebral on you here, but a concert pianist one time said, and if I remember correctly, said, if I don't practice for a week, the audience will know it. If I don't practice for 2 days, the conductor will know it. If I don't practice for a day, I know it. Meaning that you're such a high level that you can continue to perform, and most people aren't going to be able to tell the difference, but you will tell the difference. I think Aaron Rodgers is not emotionally, mentally, I don't know physically if there's an issue or not, but I don't know if he's at that level that we're so used to seeing him. And you've got, even the great ones, you got to be at that level every week. And that's what makes them great, because the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers and the Peyton Mannings, for the most part, every week show up that way with that steely-eyed, unbelievable focus that allows you to play at such an elite level. And it doesn't take much, just a little bit, incremental, where if you don't have that, you don't have that commitment, you don't have the passion, you don't have the belief in what you're doing, you don't have the belief in the people around you, even if just a little, it takes you out of that elite category. And I think that's where Aaron Rodgers is right now.
All right, well, you mentioned the other guy. And I said before you came on, I watched my parents go through a brutal divorce. And I have a very soft spot in my heart for anybody, I don't care what you do for a living, that's going through that. And apparently that's what's going on right now with Tom Brady. You got children involved. This guy's not a robot. He's the greatest quarterback of all time as far as winning Super Bowls. That cannot be denied. But there's something going on, and I don't know what. Maybe it's those things combined with just not a very good offensive line, combined with just not a very good offensive team. But Tampa Bay, not a touchdown against Carolina?
Yeah. I think, and much like I was just talking about, you take everything I just said about Aaron Rodgers and you put it into Tom Brady, and now you add the emotional and mental upheaval of, just as you outlined, a man going through obviously some struggles off the field in his personal life. As much as Tom Brady and has been brilliant and his work ethic and shows up every day, I mean, it's got to have an effect. And I think we're seeing that. It's subtle, like I said, and compounded that, we're getting, we've been saying it for a while. At some point, Tom Brady's age is going to be a factor. Now, I don't know if we're there yet. I'm not the one to put the stamp on that and say he's done. But we can see it from here. And if that is a fact, now you put that perfect storm together, and the mental and the emotional is compounding just a little bit, maybe, of what would be natural, a little bit of the physical decline. This is what you get. The question is, can you pull it back out? Because physically, he is going to be what he is. He's still going to have those issues. Can he indeed step it up? And then the things going around them, Mike Evans dropping the ball, that deep ball down the middle. Now, how often do you see that? But it doesn't take but a couple of those that all of a sudden now, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh my God, you could see it with the Ravens the other day when they got into the fourth quarter, and it was going to come down to crunch time. As good a team, and they've been at it a long time, and they've been there. The fans, the players, you could tell there was, here we go. And the only way past it is to get past it and win, and they did. And maybe that will be the catalyst for them. But it doesn't take much for that unique winning dynamic, that puzzle. One little piece is missing, and all of a sudden, it's the whole engine shuts down.
Conversely, I want to ask you about a guy nobody saw this coming, Geno Smith, out in Seattle. Russell Wilson gets traded. I remember you and I doing a couple of Jets games when he was there going back a number of years ago. And, Geno Smith had his moments of some pretty good play there. And then all of a sudden, he did a couple things, weren't so smart. Their team obviously was not very good. And for a high draft pick, he gets shipped off and really never gets a chance to play again. Now all of a sudden it sort of falls in his lap. And, Brian, you look at some of the numbers, and I'm not a big numbers guy, but so far this year, he's in the top 5, 6 in multiple categories. He's got the 4th best quarterback rating in the NFL. And most importantly, he has his team in first place in the NFC West.
Yeah. And who'd have thunk it? I mean, Seattle, you got to give Pete Carroll and that organization credit for, but let's look at the Charger game, okay? And he was brilliant. It was 20 of 27 for over 200 yards. They ran the ball 34 times for 214 yards. So Geno Smith, who I think is a solid quarterback, he's not unlike Jacoby Brissett, who I was very impressed with yesterday. And this sounds silly because, if you put the right people around, you put the right people around me, even my golf game can look okay. But you put the right what I mean by the right people that complement what he does. You get to run the ball 30 plus times for over 200 yards, and Jacoby Brissett keeps that at a 25, or Geno Smith keeps that at a 25-30 pitch count, and the defense is playing well. And the defense did play well. They kept the Chargers under 60 yards rushing, got to the quarterback. Geno Smith can prosper in that. Now, the question becomes when he's got to make that 40-45 throw game. And it's okay, defense is struggling. We're not running the ball well. Okay, Geno, this has got to totally go on your shoulders. That's the one on a consistent level, we'll have to see. But certainly within the way they're playing right now, they can win some games if they can keep this total dynamic together.
All right, last thing I want to ask you. I want to ask you about 3 teams and just give me a buy or a sell on where they are so far. The 2 teams in New York, right? Jets are 5-2. Giants are 6-1. So let's start with those 2. Where are you with those 2? And we got one more to ask you about.
Yeah, you got to buy. They've earned that right to be in that category, not the least of which is, and you look at their divisions, and notwithstanding for the Jets, looking up at Buffalo. So the Jets they're going to become a part of the AFC wildcard division here pretty soon. And they can match up with that. And the Giants, as hard as it is, and you're wondering, Saquon Barkley is such a difference. Brian Daboll's doing a great job. He's playing complementary football. He's playing smart. Is it enough to win a championship? Hard to say, but when you got Saquon Barkley and that group, they ran almost 40 times for 236 yards. So now, just like we said about Geno Smith, so now Daniel Jones, he's at that 25, 30, So again, and playing good, solid defense. You keep that balance, then the Giants are for real, particularly in that division. So I'm buying both.
All right, last team I want to ask you about is Minnesota. Quietly, a 5-1 record, had a bye week this week. Their division does not look very, very good at all. You would think they cakewalk through Chicago and Detroit. Green Bay, we'll see. You buy in Minnesota? Kirk Cousins, guy been around a long time, gets beat up for not winning a big one. But what do you think of that team?
Yeah, I'm buying until we get to the playoffs.
Okay.
Because then that's going to be, because they've got some talent now. We've done Minnesota game. Dalvin Cook is the real deal. I love Dalvin Cook, and just such a complete. And you look at that receiving core of Jefferson and Thielen. Can you imagine if Diggs was still with Minnesota?
Yeah.
That trio, wow. But Jefferson and Thielen, and so and a good solid defense. You know, they're not gonna make a huge amount of mistakes. Solid front seven. So yeah, I'm buying Minnesota again in a very questionable division right now. Now we'll see when we get into the playoffs. Although in the NFC, yeah, they could. You know, because who's that dominant team in the NFC? Philly. Okay, we'll see. We'll see if they can sustain that. But I'm good with that. Outside of Philly right now, I don't know that there's anybody in the NFC that you're going, boy, because everybody's shown some warts here. Whether it's the Rams, Seattle's looking better, you know, and good. But are you really okay? Is this a really champ? So yeah, when we say Minnesota in the division and Minnesota in this conference, yeah, they can make a run at this thing.
Yeah, clearly the power right now has shifted to them. We'll see when all is said and done, but the power has clearly been shifting primarily in large part due to the quarterback play to the AFC. Brian, thank you for your time, my friend. Have a great rest of your week.
We'll do it.